Good morning, everybody, and welcome to TTG's Restart Hotels and Resorts event. This is the latest in our series of Restart travel events, which we've designed to cover all the sorts of industry issues and destination updates and supplier advice that travel professionals need to kickstart their sales as we begin to emerge from the COVID-19 crisis. Our event today begins with a seminar in which we'll be talking to some of our event partners about the latest situation on the ground in their destinations. Then at 10:30, we move into the agent training presentations. That's when you'll get to hear from all 6 of our partners, who are Spring Hotels in Tenerife, Sandals Resorts in the Caribbean, Sun Siam Resorts in the Maldives, Sani Resort and Domez Resorts, both in Greece, and also Hummingbird Travel, which is a DMC in the Indian Ocean. I must also welcome you to TTG's new event platform. We've held a few events on this new platform now, and the feedback's been fantastic. So I hope you're finding it easy to use. You should find that using Google Chrome gives you the best experience. So if you're not on Google Chrome, if you're using a different internet browser, you might find it easier to try Chrome instead. And it does work best if you're on a laptop or a desktop rather than on your mobile phone. The first thing to check out here in our event platform is the People tab, which should be to the right of me now. If you click on the People tab, you can see who else is attending. If you see somebody that you'd like to have a chat with today, then when you go out into the lobby area and look in the networking area down towards the bottom, you can actually click on other guests and have a video conversation with them. And you can also form small groups and have a wider chat if you want to get a few of you together. You should also see a button for Q&A to the right of me. That's where you can type comments and ask questions. So you'll be able to see and hear all of our panelists and presenters today, but they won't be able to see or hear you. So do use the Q&A area in order to communicate with our guests. You might also want to make what you can see at the moment full screen so that it fills your entire laptop or computer screen. If you look for the square arrow that's in a little grayed out circle at the top left-hand side of this screen, you should be able to expand it if you haven't already done so. It just makes it a little bit easier to see what's going on. This morning's seminar should finish around about 10:20, and there's then going to be a break before the live training sessions begin at 10:30. The live training sessions won't be taking place right here. They'll be in a different virtual room, so you'll need to navigate between those rooms at the allocated time. You should see all the training sessions listed as buttons down the left-hand side of your screen at the moment. So at 10:30, please make sure you are here in the platform, but in that room rather than here in this particular room. So look out for training session 1. We know how busy you all are at the moment and that you might need to pop out and host an appointment online, or you're juggling the kids or whatever. So if you do need to leave, no problem at all. Just go and do what you need to do, but we'd love you to come back again afterwards. Just rejoin the event and look for the session which is currently live, with the little word live on it in red, so that you can catch up and stay up to date with the very latest of the live Q&As, so that you don't miss the live element with each of our 6 presenters. If you miss any sessions altogether today, then no problem. They'll all be on ttgmedia.com for you to watch back on demand at the time that suits you. Out in the lobby, you'll also see that our 6 sponsors each have their own room. So in those sponsors' rooms, they are playing a video, and you can also drop in and see them during the breaks. They should be there for you to have a chat. They might have things that you can download, and you can connect with them and talk a little bit further. If you've got any questions about how the platform works, or you need any technical help at any time, then out in the lobby, you'll see an area called Help Desk, and there'll be somebody from TTG waiting there to give you a hand if you get lost and need pointing in the right direction. Okay, now on to the seminar. So our focus today is on hotels and resorts. The accommodation is obviously an integral part of any holiday, and it's a part of the travel experience that we've had lots of questions from agents about in the last couple of weeks, just trying to get the latest information on how the situation has changed on the ground, and how hotels and resorts have been made safe, and crucially what they should be telling their customers before booking any of these hotels and resorts, and making sure that they go with the right expectations. Joining me to talk through some of these issues, we have from our headline partner, Spring Hotels in Tenerife, we've got Jo Robinson. Hello, Jo.
Hi.
Hi. From Sun Siam Resorts in the Maldives, we've got Catherine Wood. Hello, Catherine.
Hi.
Good morning. And from Hummingbird Travel, which is a ground handler representing various hotels and experiences and services in the Maldives, we've got Thomas Cochrane. Good morning, Thomas.
Morning. Hi.
Hi. To our agent guests, remember you'll be hearing more from Jo, Catherine and Thomas later in their live sessions as well, so you'll definitely be seeing more of them later in the morning. Jo, Catherine and Thomas, thanks very much for joining me this morning. It's great to be able to focus in more detail on two really core destinations for our agent guests, the Canaries and the Maldives. Jo, perhaps if I can come to you first, and just to get us going, for anyone less familiar with Spring Hotels, how many hotels do you have, and where exactly are they in Tenerife?
We've got 3 hotels, 3 4-star hotels located in the southern part of Tenerife, 2 in Las Americas and 1 in Los Cristianos.
Okay, and you're there right now?
I am indeed. I'm not on the beach. It probably looks like I am, but this is my office wall. I'm not on the beach, but I am. This is where our head office is. So yes, I'm here in Tenerife.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
And what is the latest situation then for travel to Tenerife as of this week? How many flights are coming in, and talk us through the kind of any restrictions or any arrivals procedures that travel agents should know about if they did have customers going, as soon as that.
We had our first UK flights. 2 UK flew in on the 12th of July, so it is still all quite very recent for us. And we had our first Jet2 flights that came in on the 15th of July. So it's still all very new. The flight schedules are generally a lot lower than they would have been for a normal summer 20 operation. But the flights that are coming in are full. We've got on good feedback from the likes of TUI and from the likes of Jet2 that the flights are coming in full. Anybody who's coming in, as I understand it, from the UK will need to download the QR code, the app from the Spanish government, the Travel Health site. So I can certainly either add that onto my presentation or leave a link where they can download that. That gives them a QR code with all the contact details that they need on arrival coming into Tenerife. And that QR code will be scanned on arrival here. Okay. So that's probably the biggest piece of information at this stage. Anybody traveling from the UK into Tenerife will need to download the app and get their QR code ready for arrival. So I would say that probably changes the arrival process slightly, because as well as showing your passport, you've also got to get your QR code scanned as well. And that whole process takes about 15 minutes.
15 minutes?
Yeah. Okay.
And so if you hadn't downloaded the app before you departed from the UK, would that be trickier, or is it all, sort of doable when you get there?
It's all digital, so I would say that, yeah, they should really be downloaded. This information should be passed on to them before they get here anyway. Yeah. But if it's digital, they've got the phones on, they should be able to download that. It takes minutes to fill out the contact details, where they're going, where they're staying, and until what date they're going to be here, etc.
Okay. And at the moment, there is no quarantine in place, is there, when guests arrive in Tenerife or when guests come back from Tenerife to the UK?
No quarantine. And as I saw the news, I can't remember whether it was yesterday or the day before, Scotland have now come out of their self-imposed separate quarantine. So as I understand it, we're now good, free and clear for anybody from the UK.
Fantastic. That's great news. And have you flown into Tenerife yourself recently in the last couple of weeks?
I have. I flew from Tenerife North. As you know, we've got 2 airports here in Tenerife. I flew from Tenerife North over to Lanzarote, so I've done the whole airport experience. It was very organised. We did go quite early just in case, because I was expecting quite long queues, which there weren't. On arrival at check-in, we had a lot more check-in desks than normal. we had to fill out a form actually. I think it depends on the airline you fly with. We flew out inter-island with Binter. So I had to fill out a form at check-in of where we were going, when we were coming back. And again, masks need to be worn the whole time through the airport. So you've obviously got your mask on. Good tip, make sure you get a mask that is very comfortable because it's on for a long time. So from as soon as you get to the airport all the way through, if you sit and eating something in one of the bars or restaurants, we went to go and get breakfast, you can take your mask off. But then if you were to get up and go to the bathroom, for example, you'd need to put your mask back on again. So top traveller's tip, get a really comfortable mask because it's on for quite a long time. Yeah. But the actual process itself was very smooth, no queues. There were a lot more check-in desks, a lot more security personnel on duty. We passed through security as normal. And then we were remote departure, so they took us out in much smaller numbers on the buses to get out to the aircraft. But generally a very pleasant experience.
Yeah, very well organised.
Well organised.
And Catherine, I don't think you are as lucky to be in the Maldives right now, are you?
No. And I was showing you sort of a nice pool sort of in the background there. But no, it is my little spare bed.
Can you tell us briefly what the Sun Siam collection is made up of first? I think that would be a good opener.
Sun Siam, basically they have it's privately owned by Mr. Siam, and he has currently 4 properties in the Maldives, and he has 1 in Sri Lanka. Due to open a new one actually in November. But I'm going to talk about the ones that are reopening imminently, which is basically, he's got the Olivelli, which is a lovely 4-star deluxe property. Nice and easy to get to, just a little bit of a speedboat transfer. And then he's got 3 5-star properties that I'm going to talk about today, which is the Villa Reef, the Iruveli, and the Irifushi.
Okay. And what can you tell us about the latest situation on the ground in the Maldives in terms of travel restrictions and, you know, in terms of airlift and so on as well?
Basically, the Maldives have opened up their borders now. So hotels could restart on the 15th of July. They've not, you know, visas are the same. You have to do an online health questionnaire 24 hours before you depart to go over to the Maldives. So I have actually put a little link in my room, so anybody can take a copy of that, and you just click on it, and it will take you through to like a health questionnaire, which you'll have to have done before you arrive into the Maldives. They've been pretty good, the Maldives. They're not doing any restrictions, no quarantines. Unfortunately, we still have to quarantine when we get back. I'm really hoping that's going to change soon. I don't think that's you know, the nature of going to the Maldives, being small islands themselves, is once you get through, you'll get into the Maldives, you'll be given a temperature check, and you'll be taken to the nature of it is that you're kind of isolated on an island anyhow. So once you get there, again, there'll be another health check to each island once you're out there. We have doctors on every single resort, so it's a very safe environment to start your long haul traveling again. Yeah. So yeah, and there's not been many cases out in the Maldives, full stop. So you will get in, obviously, to Mali. You don't have to, you know, you'll either do straight onto a boat or you will have the seaplane. So there's not a lot of travel involved, you know, getting across land or what have you. So it's the nature of it is a good long haul destination to start off with, I think.
Yeah. And is the quarantine when you get back to the UK, is that currently putting the UK market off, or have you?
We opened up the Olivelli. We opened up the Olivelli on the 15th. On the 16th, we got our first family of 5 from the UK. which they were so happy with. They actually called me and said, you know, the UK. So it is going to put off some people. I really do think this will be lifted soon. Some people, it's not going to make a whole heck of a lot of difference. We're all working from home, so you come back and actually carry on what you were doing previously. but obviously you know, in regard to getting food, you'd have to have some help getting the food in. But
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to keep that for much longer. I really feel it will soon be lifted, because there aren't many cases that were ever here. I don't think it's a particularly, you know, high danger list country to visit in that regard. So I think we'll get lifted soon.
Fingers crossed.
Yes, fingers crossed.
And coming to you now, Thomas, can you tell us briefly about Hummingbird Travel and your various sort of portfolio and services that you're involved in?
Yeah, Hummingbird Travel, we're a DMC, we're an Indian Ocean specialists, and we sell Maldives, Mauritius, Seychelles and Sri Lanka, but today mainly be focusing on the Maldives, which is our biggest destination. And what we are basically is like a bridge between the hotel and a travel agent or a tour operator. So we are a wholesaler, and we collate rates for 150 properties in the Maldives, and we negotiate very good rates as a DMC, and we sell them on to tour operators. And the idea is to make travel agent tour operators' lives as easy as possible. So it's the Indian Ocean made easy. That's the tagline for Hummingbird. So we just give you very good rates. We give you our expertise and our advice. We'd recommend which resorts to go to, and yeah, just make it easier for tour operators and travel agents to sell.
Okay. And as well as the hotel side then, are there other services that you offer in resort?
Yes, so we're actually on site. So we have I work in the UK office, or currently from my basement flat in Clapham, but we have a UK office in London, and we also have offices in the countries that we sell. So we have an office in Mali in the Maldives, and we also have our ground handling team. So they'll be doing the meet and greet service when clients arrive and taking them through to their transfer. Which kind of acts as a bit of an insurance policy as well. So if there are issues, lost luggage, delayed flights, client is taken ill, then we do have people on the ground to assist and to help and to stay in touch with the tour operators and travel agents, so they're kept up to date on what's happening with their client. So it's quite helpful to have someone in the destination overseeing everything, making sure everything is okay with the client. And to give you an example, when the COVID situation started really kicking in the Maldives, but back in March, there were some cases where clients were stuck in Maldives and were struggling to find a flight to get home. So what our ground handling team was doing was liaising with the flight desks and updating the tour operators, saying, okay, the next available flight back to the UK is on this time. We can help arrange that for you. So at times like that, the service is quite invaluable, I think.
Mm. And so you've got a team there at Mali Airport right now.
Yeah.
And
Yes. Yeah. Greeting. We had our first guests arrive a couple of days ago, and so the procedures have changed a little bit in terms of. Obviously, our priority is for our own staff and for guests to be as safe as possible. So social distancing is in place, face masks are worn, and of course, hand sanitizer is used. So we're following the procedures, and also the airport, which I'll go into in greater detail. They have implemented social distancing measures and reduced capacity, so it's safer as well.
okay, so everything's been done to a very good high standard from what you can make out.
Yes, of course, yeah.
And sorry, you said you could go into a bit more detail about the airport experience.
Yeah, so when guests arrive at the airport, there are now social distancing measures in place. So it's keeping the 2-meter distance. They've reduced the capacity quite substantially, which as we're seeing lower numbers into the Maldives in these opening months anyway, August, September, October, is not going to be an issue. So that's on arrival and departure. And as Catherine said, you do also have to complete a health declaration online document before departure. And initially that was going to be something you filled out in on arrival, but then they pushed it onto being online now. So that should save a bit of time on your passing through immigration. But the overall procedure is pretty much the same as it was. It's just lower capacity and greater social distancing. The airport, of course, will be sanitized on a regular basis. And they also have heat checks as well as you come through. So they'll be checking your temperature. For clients that obviously are showing symptoms of COVID, they will be taking off to be tested, and a test can be done at the airport. I believe it's going to cost about $60, $70. And then it should come back, the results will come back within 24 hours. Now, the interesting part is if a client is COVID positive, then what do the resorts decide to do? So the government, the Maldives government has put that ball in the court of the resorts. So it's in their decision on whether or not they will allow guests onto the resort to self-isolate, or if guests will then go to a government island facility to isolate there for 14 days. So there are two options, and different resorts have different strategies and ideas on what they will do.
Okay, so but there is the prospect of possibly being quarantined in a government facility for 2 weeks if you were to be to currently
if you were COVID positive, yeah, it's a possibility. And these are ex-resort islands, so they're still nice islands, but they're government run, and yeah, obviously not what you'd be looking for on your resort stay. So really, I think traveling to the Maldives, you need to make sure that you fill out the health declaration form, that you are healthy, you're not showing symptoms of COVID. And then once you pass through that arrival procedure, you've done your social distancing, you've declared you're fit for health, and you've passed through. Once you come out of the arrival doors the other side, you are basically accepted as being a COVID-free client. You continue to observe social distancing if you can, but then once you're on resort, it's very much like having a normal holiday, as you would have done before.
Yeah. Okay. Joe, what about in Tenerife? Are you aware of what would happen if somebody arrived in Tenerife and then started showing symptoms, whether that was sort of, at the airport or once they'd got to one of your hotels?
Yeah, I mean, again, each hotelier will have chosen their own protocol, working within the government guidelines. We have chosen, for example, that we're going to take temperatures on arrival. So part of our arrival, so when they arrive to the hotel, we will take their temperature on arrival as well. So that will give us an early indication. If someone, for example, was showing a particularly high temperature, we will then move them to a part of the hotel that is currently unoccupied. Our occupancies are quite good at the minute within the guidelines we can work within, because of the social distancing with the table placings, etc., and the sunbeds. We can only fill to 75% occupancy. So our occupancies are good, but we do still have large amounts of the hotel that would be empty. So if we did have someone who was running a temperature, which would be the first sign, we would move them to an unoccupied part of the hotel.
Right.
Ring the authorities, we would ring the emergency services here, and the protocol is that we would continue to monitor them for 2 or 3 days. And then depending on the diagnosis or which way it went, there's a different protocol then to follow.
Right. And what would happen to their travelling companions? Would they move to that room with them, I guess, rather than
stay with them? Yeah, if they were all together. I mean, we do things like they would then stay in their room. We would take food up to them. There's a certain protocol we would follow in taking room up to them. They would leave their clothes outside in special laundry disinfection bags for us to take away to get specially treated, etc. So the whole process has been very well planned and well thought out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hopefully, won't be required, but it's good to know that it's been thought through. And Catherine, again, hopefully it wouldn't happen, but if a guest was to arrive at some Siam resort and then show a temperature, what would the protocols be?
So with all our resorts, if basically on arrival to the resort they have a temperature check and they're showing symptoms, we will get them tested. And they will be allowed to stay on resort, but have to be quarantined in their room. Olive Valley certainly, the Olive Valley being the speedboat, if they were to show symptoms once they arrive into the airport, the Olive Valley basically has its own quarantine rooms. In fact, when lockdown did happen, being so close to the airport, the Olive Valley is made up of 2 islands. So the government actually used one of the islands as a quarantine place. One island they used as basically for those who couldn't get home on flights, and one of the quarantines. The nature of how it's already been set up, it can totally deal with all this. But yes, we do have doctors in resorts as well. So we will basically, if things, we'll have them tested, and then the doctor will have them tested, and then if they certainly can be quarantined there. It gets a little bit more serious, then we have to look at, they do have various islands in the Maldives where they have certainly ventilation beds now. So you would have to get what they call ambulance speedboat taken there if it really got very serious. But yes, no, we will take, and we will quarantine. So it's all set up there. We're all ready.
Fingers crossed it won't be required.
Exactly.
Jo, I think one thing that agents and their holidaymakers worry about is that the destination experience won't be perhaps what they hoped, or perhaps what they've experienced previously. I mean, how much is there that's open in the local areas surrounding your hotels, in terms of places to go, things to see, places to eat out? Is there still a significant amount of opportunities in that sense, or is it quite restricted?
No, there's definitely, obviously we only had our first flights starting last week, so every restaurant and bar isn't open, but there's certainly a good percentage. Yeah. There's around from where our hotels are, for example, hotels and bars are opening each week now. More things are starting to open. We've also got obviously all the supermarkets are open as normal, banks, etc. Lots of excursions now are open. So we've got the Taylor National Park, we've got all the water sports in the areas that are open. Aqualand opened this weekend, so Aqualand is one of the water parks in the area. It's quite big actually, so if you've got a family coming over, they certainly would be able to go out there for the day, and controlled numbers, so it's all pre-booked in advance. So again, we can maintain the social distancing. But the infrastructure of the resort is definitely there now, and each week there are more and more things that are opening up. But the beaches are open, the pools are all open as normal. Obviously in between, I must obviously need to point out that if you're moving from one place to the next, you do need to wear a mask if you can't respect social distancing. If you're going somewhere particularly crowded, customers will need to wear a mask. But in terms of the resort experience, lots of water sports, lots of biking centres, national parks, stargazing. If anybody wants to do a nighttime excursion, then the stargazing's open on Tady.
Fantastic.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And what about in your hotels themselves? Are there certain services and facilities? I'm sure you'll talk about this a lot more in your presentation later, but just briefly, how much has the sort of in-hotel experience changed?
I suppose it's changed. There's more protocols. So on arrival at the hotel now, you'll see that the customers walk through disinfection masks, but as soon as they arrive into reception itself, reception is still there as normal. We've obviously got the screens up now, and all the staff will be wearing masks, and we've got the gel machines all over the hotel. But entertainment is still on, so we have a professional dance troupe that comes in 2 or 3 times a day, singing, dancing, etc. The gym will still be open, the spa will be open, but it has to be done with reservations, so we can have 2 people at a time, all done by an appointment system. We do still have a form of entertainment program, so we're still doing Pilates and yoga, for example, but it's sunbed Pilates and sunbed yoga. So people can still join in things, but whilst respecting the social distancing. But in terms of the services, the breakfast service, the lunch, the dinner, the bar service, all is still the same. What customers can do if they choose to limit their contact with staff, for example, we've got an app, a Spring app that they can download, and they can order lunch, drinks off the app, so that then they don't have to actually go up to the bar to do any ordering if they choose not to.
Oh, right, clever.
So the service is still the same, the facilities are still the same, but we've just kind of modified it to make sure that we're respecting the social distancing.
Yeah, because different guests will have different kind of levels of anxiety, won't they, about what they do and don't want to be doing. So it's great to hear that there's flexibility.
We do. We have, I would say, we're very lucky that we get a lot of repeat guests, a lot of repeat customers, and there will be some people who still want to go to check-in and check in as normal because that's what they've done for the past 25 years. So there will be a large percentage that will choose to do that, but for the rest who choose to check in online, so they can just go straight to the room and the phone will then become their key card for the room. There is also that facility as well, so each person can choose their own sort of level of comfort.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Catherine and Thomas, Maldives is rather different to the Canaries in that it's so resort based, and you know, once you're there, you don't tend to leave the island very much anyway. But is the in resort experience going to be very different for guests at the moment over the next few weeks and months in terms of you know, what they can actually do and activities and things like that?
I'll start with my resorts, Thomas, so you can add a few other things. So basically, I think it's going to change. Well, firstly, with the opening, I mean, dependent on which resort, it's just sort of opening on a smaller basis at the moment. Our Fuji has 15 bars and restaurants to choose from on the island. They're just not going to open every single one of them at the moment until numbers start picking up. So you'll arrive to the resort. We ask you to check in online. As I say, you'll be given a temperature check. Go to resort. But the nature of the Maldives Islands, that with the weather, everything is outdoors anyhow. We've obviously moved tables further apart. Buffet experience for whatever buffet restaurant we have will be different. You will have to now pre-book a buffet because what we're going to do is allocate one of the team members there to actually serve your food. So it's just going to make things a little bit more complicated than just going up and helping yourself. We'll still have entertainment on. Again, spas will be open. We just ask you to, again, as Joanne had, to pre-book in advance. We also ask you to shower in advance as well. Kids clubs, again, pre-booked. We used to basically accept under four-year-olds with mums. I'm afraid we're not going to do that at the moment, and no babysitting service. We're going to have to keep numbers, you know, lower, obviously. But otherwise, everything's pretty much the same, really. If you want a mask, you can have one. You can ask one. We'll have them. We have them in resort. They'll give temperature checks as and when, just like on the spot checks every so often, just to make, you know, just reassure some people. And it's pretty much otherwise as normal. Again, you know, some of the sporting activities, we're going to have to reduce the numbers just to keep the social distancing guides in place. One thing I do want to mention probably, which is quite important, is housekeeping. Now, normally somebody be in there at least two times a day. We're not going to offer that service unless you specifically request it. We're just going to try and keep the contact down to a minimum. You want your housekeeping every day, that's up to you. Yes, but what we were trying to reassure people that they're not, because you'll have a turn down service, you'll have, you know, there's a constant sort of people coming in and cleaning and what have you.
I much prefer to not get disturbed anyway, quite frankly. That might be personal.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Some people like that, but it's just these things. You can have it, but we're going to do sort of a reverse action. So not do it every, you know, 2-3 times a day, unless you specifically want that to happen. Obviously, we're going to when somebody checks out, we are going to leave. We're going to totally clean the rooms. We're only going to clean the air conditioning units and seal the room for 24 hours before the next guests arrive. So all quite complicated. We have brought up a whole program called the Sunshine Cares program. Again, it's listed. It's got a great list, and I've attached it to my room, so that can give you a guideline of everything that might seem a little bit different. But you know, again, you always eat outside there. The entertainment's outside there. You eat on the beach. So you're not going to feel it's greatly different. I mean, you're going to obviously see the service being, you know, the those serving you with masks and gloves on. That would probably, you know, be the most different experience. But otherwise, it's you know, I think it'll be pretty much as normal. Well,
yeah,
normal can be at the moment. Don't know whether you have any other comments, Thomas.
Thomas, would you agree with that by and large visitors to the Maldives will have quite a similar experience, and there shouldn't be too much risk of a disappointed customer?
Definitely, yeah. I think the biggest changes will actually be what you don't see behind the scenes, and the biggest changes will be how the staff on resort are going through their procedures. So obviously, cleaning the rooms now. I think most of the resorts, if not all the resorts, will be leaving 24 hours between arrival and departure. So the room will be free and thoroughly cleaned and sanitized between guests' stay. The housekeeping, when it comes, they'll try and ensure the housekeeping comes when you're not in the room, so there's no crossing there. And then the meals, probably the one thing a guest might notice is the buffet will be either taken away completely, or like in Catherine's case, it will be brought to you. But quite a few resorts are going from buffet to a la carte. So basically, rather than you getting up and helping yourself, it's off the menu. Or in villa dining, quite a few resorts are just making in villa dining something you can do at no extra cost as well. So dining will be a bit different, but yeah, not really. For clients, I don't think they'll notice a big difference. The Maldives is already a very exclusive destination. You're staying on private islands, dining in open air restaurants, and also, drinking in open air bars. So social distancing has never been a problem in the first case. Numbers on resort are quite low. That level of privacy that you get in the Maldives is unchanged. So as a destination, it's not going to be that affected, I don't think. It's a fly and flop destination, so you tend to spend most of your time on resort, swimming, diving, snorkeling. Water sports still be going forward, and diving equipment is still, and snorkeling equipment is still available. Obviously, it'll be sanitized. Spa treatments can still be booked. There'll be probably temperature checks, but spas treatments are going ahead. So the sort of fundamental things that you do in the Maldives anyway remain pretty much unchanged. So I don't think guests will see much of a difference.
Great. And Jo, thinking about those guests that you have had since reopening, I mean, have they been particularly kind of pioneering of spirit? Do you think they needed to have come with a certain mindset, I guess, in terms of being flexible and appreciating that things have changed a little bit? I'm just interested in those that have made the decision to go out so early when others are still feeling a little bit cautious. So what have you seen?
The atmosphere has been brilliant. And I have to say that based on a lot of the calls that we got from customers before they came, asking lots of different questions, but most of it was protocol based, what we were doing to make sure that we were maintaining social distancing, gels, cleansing, etc. So that formed most of the pre-departure questions that we got. The majority of guests that we've got now in the hotel seem to be loving life because it's beautiful and sunny. When they're on that sunbed anyway, then I think they're in the world of their own. They are genuinely on holiday. And we've been around and asked quite a lot of them how they're feeling, and there's just that real holiday spirit. No one's even mentioned anything about COVID. So there's a real nice, genuine holiday feeling. I've been to the hotel every day since we opened, and you can see it getting fuller and fuller every day. So we've built up nicely. We had 24 arrivals on the first day, another 10 the next, another 10 after that. So we've kind of built up nice and slowly. So everyone's kind of eased into the new roles. So it's nice. It's a really nice feeling. It's a real holiday feeling still. So that's certainly not gone away. And everyone seems very happy.
Great.
Yeah.
And are there sort of learnings to be made as you go along, and tweaks to how things are being run and organised as it all beds in?
We had definitely done a lot of pre-planning. So the buffet service, I think everyone's talked about the sort of the buffet and the meal service. We did a lot of pre-runs with staff. So we got all the staff in and practiced the service, the show cooking, how it would work when we've got the tables full. So a lot of that had been done in advance. I would say that most of the tweaking that we've had to do has been off our app, because we've got the new app, Hello Spring, and a lot of people kind of downloaded it, weren't quite sure how it worked, what to do. So whilst people have got that app, we can see that a lot of the questions in the early days are about the functionality and how they ordered and etc. So that was probably one of the learning curves the first few days with the functionality of our app, because that was the first time we'd used it live. We developed it through the lockdown. So whilst we did lots of practices and run-throughs, it's never the same as having your first guest check in contactlessly from home, arrive at the airport and have it to refresh and tell them what room number they're in, and then get to the hotel and go to said room.
Yeah.
So I would say that's where we've done the most tweaking, with the kind of the digital side of things.
Yeah, that's a big project to have undergone in a couple of months' time.
In a short space, I don't know, it's probably felt like forever for some people, but when we were working on that with sort of a finite deadline, then it certainly feels like it's been a very short space of time, but it's working very well. So yeah, it's been good so far. Very, very positive start here in Tenerife to the reopening.
In terms of sort of air capacity over the next few weeks and months, how quickly is it going to ramp up again for Tenerife?
I think a lot of that will depend on the airlines themselves. It's a massive undertaking there's no way they could kind of recreate the same capacity that we had planned for summer 20, or certainly what we had for summer 19. I think that will sort of come back slowly but surely. As I said earlier, the flights are reduced that are coming in. Yeah. But the flights that are coming in are full. So instead of having 5 flights come in from Manchester, we've got 1, but that flight is full. So I think a lot of it will be based on demand. Occupancies on the island are generally quite high, but that's because we're working to restrictions. So we've actually got a stop sale for August. So we're quite happy because we've had to actually stop sales because we're full in the new world. But I think as time kind of goes on, some people I'm sure are kind of hanging back before they book the holiday, waiting to see sort of how things go for the first few weeks. And all indications how we're going to have a very strong winter. Demand is very, very high for winter. Yeah,
of course, because your season's certainly not over yet, is it? It's going to gear up and up and up now till the winter.
Yeah, for October, November and December, just to kind of give you an idea, we're exactly where we were in terms of sales at this same time last year. So it's not had any impact at all on the demand for sales or the speed of the sales coming in.
Incredible.
Yeah, so fingers crossed.
And have you seen any patterns in terms of people booking more last minute then? I guess not if you're looking at November, December, January.
Really?
That's planning quite far ahead, really.
Yeah, not really. We've had very strong sales for summer 21, but of course what I wouldn't be able to see at the minute is how many of those were possibly cancellations from summer 20. They've just gone over to 21.
Yes.
So we have a very strong sales already for summer 21. Winter's looking fairly strong, and I don't think we've yet seen the true pickup in demand. I do think people will kind of hang on, not necessarily for a deal or for a special offer. I think they're just kind of waiting to see how things sort of ease back into operation straight after the lockdown.
Yeah.
But certainly up to now, all indications are very good.
Great. That's exciting. Catherine, what can you tell us about how the next few months and into next year as well are looking for Sun Siam Resorts?
The pickup recently, and I think Thomas has probably found this, there's a lot of bookings coming through, but they are majority for next year. We have got some diehards who are still going to come in August, which is brilliant. But yeah, generally the pickup seems to be doing really, really well, but it's mostly 21. We've got a few coming in sort of October. I think October is going to be a busy month, especially due to the fact that we've got the October half term. So those who weren't able to join us July and maybe feel a little uncomfortable coming in August, it's going to be a busy month for October. We've Christmas, I think people are being a little bit cautious, so we've actually introduced all our sales now. We're doing peak to try and encourage people to think. I think it's just, it is quite an expensive time of the year to come out to the Maldives, and they're thinking, gosh, shall I, shan't I? So we've just put our offers right through Christmas now. So even the Area Valley's got 40% off of the peak Christmas New Year season. So yeah, but the pickup seems really good. It's getting really busy out there. We just want to encourage people a little bit more for the last quarter of this year, because the weather in the Maldives, as you know, the season there is particularly good for our winter months. So we just want to encourage more people to come out the last quarter of this year, I think. But no, pickup seems to be good at the moment. It seems to be busy. I think it's just we July, August, because it was who's opening, what's opening. We've only got one resort, the Olivelli, that is open from now. We've got two, the Irafushi and the Iravelli, opening the 1st of August, and then our Villu Reef is not going to open until the 1st of October. No, things are hotting up.
And Thomas, obviously you're in constant liaison with hotels all across the Maldives. Are you seeing any interesting movement in terms of pricing? Are there some really good prices out there to be had at the moment? Or if the experience is very much as it was, are the hotels and resorts maintaining pricing?
Yeah, there are some excellent deals out in the Maldives at the moment, and we've put sort of a list of offers, a part of a campaign called Relaunch the Indian Ocean, and some of our favourite offers we've included on there. We did a newsletter last week, but it's a campaign we continue to run. So if there's any agents operators interested, then get in touch and we can give you some recommendations. But there's some really strong offers, like 50% discounts, free upgrade to half board or full board, and speedboat transfers included. Those kind of offers are on the market, particularly if guests are interested in traveling like August, September, October. There are some nice deals to encourage those kind of first arrivals into the Maldives. But I wouldn't say that anyone's going crazy with their pricing as yet. I think everyone, it's still it's a very high caliber destination to visit, and they don't want to devalue the destination. So the offers are strong, but they're not crazy, not yet. So I think they're balanced, but they're really good offers and represent value, I think, is the big thing. So whether that's in the meal plans or the transfers being included, and also some extras included as well.
Right.
I think we'll see, because we've got, July we had a first batch of hotels opening. August, the hotels opening in August, so kind of watching to see what happens in July. And then they're opening, and then again in September we've got another batch, and then October. By October, pretty much most of the hotels will be fully operational again in the Maldives. Hotels are watching and waiting. And the big thing, I think, is waiting for that travel advice to change from the UK government, as Catherine mentioned earlier. So, yes, we're already having guests travel to the Maldives now, and it's possible to get insurance now as well. You can go online and you can get insured, even though the travel advice hasn't changed. You can get insured for COVID to travel to the Maldives. On numerous sites, just type it into Google and you'll find some, and it's not overly expensive. But I think once that travel advice changes, I think it's just the overall messaging that it gives to people. I think we'll suddenly see a greater influx of inquiries. I mean, the last 2 weeks have been very busy for us. So we've kind of been back to full strength and running on all engines. But I think once that travel advice changes, then we'll really see a big push to the Maldives again.
Mm-hmm. It's such a big honeymoon destination as well, isn't it? And obviously so many people have had their weddings postponed from this summer to next summer, and therefore will be looking to move honeymoons as well. So I think it's that's
true. We've had obviously we've amended a lot of bookings in the period from March to now, and we've amended most of them actually. We had to cancel and refund a few bookings, but pretty successfully we've amended most of the bookings for later on this year and then into 2021, and we've got a huge number of arrivals in 2021. The main sort of periods that we've been hitting are October, Christmas, and March 2021. Those would probably be the main points.
Okay. Joe, obviously the hotels are doing everything they possibly can to be safe and to give their guests the right information and guidance and keep everything in order. What happens though if Tenerife is unlucky enough to get some bad guests who don't follow the rules and make things difficult? I mean, I guess there's local police to help enforce those situations. Hopefully it will not happen at any spring hotels, but you do see the occasional headline, don't you, about boozy Brits in particular abroad, up to no good. I mean, is that something that is a concern to hoteliers, that not all guests might stick to the rules, and then that makes it very challenging for everybody that is?
At the moment, no, I have to say. Everybody has been very good sticking to the rules. We had a much stricter lockdown, I think, than probably anywhere else. So we were very heavily policed right from day one. We had the army as well. So we were policed and we had army on the streets, and we've had to wear masks from day one. So for us, it is very much part of the norm. We've had no guests so far who have refused to put masks on, and I think if it did get to that extreme, then obviously it would be a police issue if it got to that extreme. But up to now, I'm very happy to say that we've had no one who's refused to put the mask on.
Yeah.
No, we're not too concerned.
It sounds like the poorly behaved people from the UK aren't travelling then yet, which is good news.
Yeah, I think maybe August time, kind of downtown Latin America, who knows? But certainly at the minute, then there's no indications that no one's kind of sticking to the rules. But there is a very heavy kind of police presence, and there was a very heavy army presence through lockdown. We were locked down 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is good because obviously we've bounced back very quick. I mean, we've only got one active case that is sort of still in hospital throughout all of this. So our situation has been totally different, really, and I think it's been a lot easier to control because of the severe lockdown that we've had.
Yeah, yeah. It's, as you say, it's just become the normal way of life. So yeah, it's a lot easier to make that normal for guests as well.
Yeah.
I think that's all we've got time for in the seminar, I'm afraid. There's lots more I wanted to ask you all. But to all the agents listening, you're going to be able to meet Jo, Catherine and Thomas in their respective training sessions. So I'm sure you might have more questions for them, but you'll have plenty of time to talk to them later during their presentations and ask some more in-depth questions about what's going on the ground in their destinations and in the resorts that they represent as well. So thank you very much to our three panellists. The agent training session is going to begin at 10:30, so you all have a bit of a break now. You could pop into the sponsors rooms that I mentioned earlier, where you can meet Jo, Catherine and Thomas and the other sponsors as well. You can watch the videos and there might be some information you can download there too. You can also have a chat with your fellow delegates out in the networking area in the main lobby if you'd rather chat to another agent maybe, or somebody else that you've spotted in the event today, or pop to the loo, feed the dog, do whatever you need to do, and please be back here at 10:30 for the first training session. And remember, that's not going to be in this virtual room. That's in a virtual room that's called Training Session 1. So make sure you click to go into the right event at 10:30 and your first supplier presenter will be in there waiting for you. I hope you have a really inspiring and informative morning with all of our partners. Do ask lots of questions using the Q&A function, and I'll see you briefly after the final training presentation just to wrap up and say goodbye. So have a great morning and see you all later.